This high-pressure system as a heat dome that has impacted not just the state of California, but the entire west coast of the United States. It has led to many red flag warnings, including a significant number of lightning strikes in the last 72 hours, some 10,849 lightning strikes alone just in the last number of days, including, and it bears repeating, the prospect of a world record 130-degree temperatures here in the state of California, 130-degree temperature here in the state of California, the highest recorded certainly in modern history, potentially in human history, in Death Valley. We have seen wildfire activity as a consequence of this heat wave, as a consequence of all of these lightning strikes. We currently have active, addressed some 6,754 fires since the beginning of this year. You contrast that, and you can see in this slide where we were this time last year. Rather than over 6,700 fires that we've had to battle this year, we are now battling, or rather by contrast, we battled just over 4,000 fires last year. So this fire season has been very active. And not surprisingly, that activity has taken shape in a number of counties up and down the state of California. We've declared a statewide emergency yesterday, which fundamentally helps us avail ourselves of resources to combat these fires, both within the state and in terms of our mutual aid system across the western United States. And I'll talk more about that in a moment, and obviously draw down federal support as well. Here's where we are. Currently, we are battling some 367 known fires that are burning statewide. And I say known fires because when you see this amount of lightning strikes, and by the way, it was June of 2008 where we had roughly half the number of lightning strikes. June 2008 is a memorable date here in the state of California, particularly here at the State Operations Center, and the work CAL FIRE had to do to address those lightning strikes. Roughly half, 5,146 lightning strikes marked on that date, compared to over 10,000 over the last few days here in the state. As those lightning strikes spark, as you have a lot of smoke, you have a difficult time determining total number of fires until certain things clear and we have the opportunity to go to more remote parts of the state. So I say 367 known fires based on the lightning activity, but the prospect of that number going up is very real. But the number that is most impactful, at least at the moment, are the 23 major fires in what we describe as complexes of fires. And that's an area that has multiple fires, not concentrated together, but concentrated and spaced apart, but within a geographic geographic area that is proximate. And so 23 major fires that we are currently addressing aggressively through all our efforts, both the local, regional, and state and federal level. Let's talk about some that we have highlighted over the course of the last number of days. The Apple Fire in around Riverside County. You've seen the Lake and Ranch fires in around LA County. You can see the containment of some of those fires, good progress, so much so in the Apple Fire that we've been able to pull resources from Southern California, from the Apple Fire into Northern California, where we've experienced the majority of these lightning strikes and new fires. You can see containment, the Lake Fire, beginning to move in a direction that gives us confidence that we've got our arms around the conditions. You see a number of other fires with containment. When you get into that 30, 35, 40% range and you don't have major conditions changing as it relates to wind conditions, humidity, and the like, it gives you some confidence in the capacity of our frontline heroes to really take control of those conditions and mitigate the spread and the damage of those fires. They're still active. They are major fires, but we're seeing some real containment. We're seeing real progress. Here are the number of fires where we're not yet seeing containment. Brand new fires. You see these lightning complex fires, the CZU, which is in around San Mateo, Santa Cruz area. That's a complex of fires, 22 fires within that complex, working aggressively to contain those fires. The LNU lightning complex, similarly, a number of different fires, this in around Lake County, Napa County, a little bit around Sonoma County. These fires break out, the Gamble Fire, Hennessy Fire, et cetera, et cetera. Again, working aggressively to contain the environment in and around those fires. Carmel Fire and the Jones Fire, which has gotten a lot of attention in and around Grass Valley, Nevada City. That more of a grass brush fire at the moment. There's been evacuations related to that. The 5% containment looks modest, but there's a sense of optimism as it relates to that fire. Again, that optimism can dissipate pretty quickly as the wind conditions change, humidity, and other conditions change. But nonetheless, those are the larger fires that we are addressing in real time. Again, 23 all up and down the state of California that we mark as quote-unquote major fires, hundreds of fires throughout the state of California because of this extraordinary weather that we're experiencing and all of these lightning strikes. So look, this is what the state does. We are quite familiar with these challenges, and everybody watching is quite familiar with the challenges of wildfires here in the state of California as well. But there's no question, while last year we experienced some acuity of fires, a Kincaid Fire, some others down Getty Fire, and some others in Southern California, the total number of fires last year was substantially lower than the activity we're experiencing this year. And what has occurred over the last 72 hours is certainly stretched the resources of this state. That said, we are in a better state of preparedness. I've had multiple press conferences like this over the course of the last few months, talking about some of our efforts on vegetation management, forest management. A few days ago, we announced a new partnership with the U.S. Forest Service to match California's commitment to address some of our vegetation and forest management by matching the total number of acreage that we are currently addressing each and every year. New partnerships forming with the U.S. Forest Service. In addition to the partnership we formed with the California legislature this year that provided us an additional, despite this historic challenge with budget shortfalls, we were able to increase our budget for CAL FIRE by $85.6 million to get and bring on permanent, full-time firefighting force. In addition to that, recognizing that we started to see some activity after the budget was signed that was potentially, was leading to some indication we might be where we are here today. We supplemented with an additional $72.4 million the availability of seasonal firefighters. At the time we announced 858 seasonal firefighters we wanted to bring in to the total number of available CAL FIRE personnel. 830 of those 858 have already been brought on. This just over the course of the last few weeks. That supplemental commitment was timely, and we certainly are now a beneficiary of some of those new firefighting resources. By the way, in addition to the CAL FIRE personnel we brought on, we also tried to supplement some of our hand crews and some of the work at the California Conservation Corps, and those Corps members were part of that $72.4 million. So they have come on board, and they're out there on the front lines helping support our National Guards men and women, supporting our local frontline personnel as well.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Click the ABC7 logo to subscribe to our Eyewitness News YouTube channel.